Did they all say recording in progress to you? Did you all get that? That is a weird, I wonder how long that's going to last in the Zoomosphere. Anyway, welcome. I'm Eric. If this is your first time you've ever been to one of these masterminds are super informal. Often we'll have a topic that we lean into, that we go deep into, but the big thing is we're just kind of connecting, hearing what you're up to. We usually have kind of a high level overarching concept that we're supporting each other through. And I'll kick us off, and then with a couple ideas and a couple kind of prompts, and then we will spend some time. Peter, I know you have to leave early, so we'll make sure you have a minute. I want to hear about Joellen's trip, and Joellen, your trip actually inspired what I wanted to talk about some today. Same with you, Tony, and you, Takenya. What we've all been discussing, which is we're about to leap into this summer moment. And the past month of my life has been extremely stressful. I mean, if I'm really honest about it, it's been one of those, I've had a really hard time staying calm, really hard time staying present. It's been, the mix that I do in my life of, teaching 20 students a week, which I love, that's in my blood, running Fons, which is a technology company, which is an interesting thing because I'm dealing with a pool of customers that's ever growing. I'm dealing with a team of technologists and designers and all that stuff, which is a really hard problem. And this last month, I've really delved into the world of lawyers and fundraising because we needed to raise money to be able to go to the next level, which is part of the life cycle of a technology company. And that little extra piece has put the thing that I was like, oh my gosh, I can't do it all. And so it just it's been a real beautiful month of trying to stay focused and trying to keep my head above water and trying to keep my kids happy. And it's sometimes these things are impossible. And at the end of it all, and now we're kind of through it, right smack dab in the middle of it, one of my very dear friends, the person who mentored me most, the person who taught me how to play blues music, but who was also, when I was a kid, but also because that's the way in Virginia, the way people teach people how to play blues is like you find an older master and they hang out with you and you just jam out with them. And so I met this guy when I was in high school, and he was in his mid 40s at that point, and I got to just play with his band, and he's a very successful business person. I talk about him all the time. But he had a really serious health issue and landed himself in the hospital. And it was like one of those near-death moments. And I got to speak with him for an hour yesterday. And I was so grateful to hear his voice and to talk. And, the first thing after we got through our connection of like, how you doing? Okay, great. I was like, what changed? I was like, when you have these moments, when you see the light and you come back from it, like, lay it on me, man. And it was just, it was such a beautiful hour of time spent together that brought everything full circle, which was like, Branner, don't focus on things that don't matter. And if you do focus on things that don't matter, don't stress out about them. Like, stay calm because it doesn't matter. You get a letter from the IRS and your blood pressure goes up and you're like, oh my gosh, you're afraid to open it. He's like, don't be afraid to open it. That doesn't matter. Like, your kids matter, your wife matters, our love matters. And it was great because this fundraising round's coming to a close. My buddy's going to be okay. I got this great blast of wisdom. And when you're being close to someone that's been close to the edge like that, then came back, and especially someone you care about so much and trust their business advice so much, it was just a great grounding moment. And this is kind of where we are for, I think, a great idea today is we're going into summer. Like, I didn't realize summer was coming until yesterday. Like yesterday, I was like, oh my gosh, my kids are out of school like next week. And I realized these last 15 months, we've all just been surviving. Like, yeah, we've been doing well, thriving, trying to keep positive attitudes, keeping our heads up. But it's been a really, really intense time. And our students have been traumatized, whether they admit it or not. And I'm seeing that in all these posts in the different groups. My students are or my clients are so like standoffish and they're crying. It's like, yeah, this has been the weirdest year in the history of years. Doesn't matter where you are. Everybody's been through it. Dude, if you know any friends that teach in public schools, oh my gosh, they're leaking their way toward this finish line of this year that's just been devastatingly challenging and traumatic for everybody. And, especially people like us, we're positive, we're trying to stay cool, we're trying to be, emotionally grounding for the other people around us. I think we're all exhausted. emotionally. And we've got summer coming, and we're also seeing the end of all this, of what we've just been through. So I'm really excited to talk about these. Kenny was talking about just leaving the kids once, which is a great idea. Which is, what are we going to do with this next thing moving forward? Because I know that I've gotten into this grind where I don't allow myself to really feel the emotions of what's going on around me, because I have to be consistent and steady and there for my kids and the people around me. And now it's like, okay, it's time to, maybe this summer will be a moment that we can, come back together and see people, and what are we going to do with it? So that's kind of been really on the front of my mind, and I can really see it in our groups too. Everybody trying to hold it together, everybody doing the best they can. So I'm really feeling like in a great place, and I'm excited to be here and hear what you all are working on, and see if we can do some brainstorming, maybe about some projects you're working on today, maybe what you're experiencing, what you're thinking about coming up for summer, how you're feeling about supporting your clients, and what you're seeing out there, and digging through. Yeah, so I'm going to pass it over to whoever would like to just jump in, maybe introduce themselves, tell us where you are, what you're working on, and just say hello. So let's do it. Would someone like to say hi? Just unmute yourself and go for it.
Hi, I just got back from 2 weeks in San Diego that I took very specifically to kind of give myself an artistic retreat. I had my coach and I that I've been working with over Zoom for this last year. We're both vaccinated, so we were doing some in-person coaching. Saw my voice teacher. So if you haven't met me, I am Karen Wilcox. I am an opera singer and overall music nerd. But I did not study opera in school. Technically, I have a Bachelor of Science in Mathematics, so go figure. But yeah, no. So, and in the classical world, we distinguish between vocal coach and voice teacher. So, voice teacher is where you work on the technique. Vocal coach is where you put all the musicianship and stuff together. And they do have some overlap, but anyway. So I've been working with this vocal coach for about 2.5 years now. I started working with him when I was about possibly the lowest artistic point I've ever been, just completely lost my confidence, and for a variety of reasons. But yeah, no, these last 2 weeks were super, super just refreshing. I had 4 coachings with him. I saw my voice teacher a few times, have been able to work through several things, just emotionally, vocal technically, but also emotionally, because they're extremely closely intermeshed. And yeah, so all to say, I've had a really great 2 weeks of just discovery, and it was interesting because at one point, like, my voice got all froggy, and I'm like, okay, this is something emotional happening. What's going on? And I had to go to my voice teacher, and thankfully, it is so. We try to be this person for all of our students, but it is just having experiences. It is so helpful, even as an adult student, to have that teacher that you can go to, and that you can just talk for 10 minutes. They will just listen, and then you will find whatever that thing is that you need to burst into tears about. Burst into tears, it'll get out of your system, and you're safe to do so. So, and then it's over.
Hey,
So,
Karen,
yeah.
because this is so cool. I just want to jump, like, so you took this 2 week thing to
Yeah.
just go to San Diego. A quick question. Were you anxious going and doing something for yourself after not being able to go and do something for yourself? Like, did that take some momentum to get that flywheel going, to like get back into the swing of things? And when you came back, how did you feel after taking 2 weeks of Karen time? Was it just
Well,
awesome?
I'm exhausted right now. I literally got in last night at like 10 p.m. So I'm happy to be back in my own space. I don't know that it was so difficult to take time for myself, because I kind of knew what I was aiming for, but I did definitely have that moment, like, right before I left, like, what do I think I'm doing? Like, what do I think I'm trying to accomplish here? Like, I'm just taking some just open free time where I'm canceling my lessons and not really doing anything except for focusing on myself here. Thankfully, I found a homestay, so I wasn't having to pay for that. And the only cost of the trip was a rental car for the 2 weeks. Um, but I mean, I think the difficulty was not so much that I had a problem doing something for myself. The difficulty was trying to trust that um, purposefully scheduled downtime was going to be anything other than inefficient. So what ended up happening was far beyond what I'd imagined. like I went out hoping to just sort of focus on myself, get some work done, focus on my own art for a while. And I, I came out and like so much happened. Like I was able to just work through so much in my own head that I'd been putting off. So, but it's hard to get yourself to actually take the time to do that when you don't have a game plan. But that's the thing, you can't have a game plan if you want it to work.
So
Karen.
yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead, Joellen.
Oh, I didn't want to change the subject, but I had a question for Karen. The difference between a vocal coach and a voice teacher. Could you describe that, like their values or their principles behind them?
So, a voice teacher deals with creating the big sound. I mean, that's what I do with my students. And we deal with like whoa, there's Eric. I'm like, something switched around. Um, so, a voice teacher will help you get in touch with your body, get in touch with your vocal cords, get in touch with your own personal resonance, and help you to learn how to use your own voice efficiently. A vocal coach helps you to understand what you are trying to achieve music stylistically and putting the two things together. And honestly, as a voice teacher, I do a little bit of both with my students because I'm a stickler for intonation. I'm a stickler for having good rhythm. I am a stickler for intentionality. So there is some overlap there, but it is one of those distinctions that recently I've been asking myself, like, when did this start happening? Like, when did we start distinguishing between these two? And is it actually a good distinction to make? Because what ends up happening, I think, is on the voice teacher side, you get voice teachers who get a little bit lazy with teaching their students musicianship. So I don't know. I have to look into that. But that is a question I've been asking myself. But they both, usually a vocal coach also is a great pianist and will, be playing for you as well as helping you stylistically
Like
do
Stevie Mackey, I get those ads. That's a coach.
like
I don't know if you see it. Stevie Mackey. He's like a vocal coach to the stars. I
okay, in
don't know.
that particular case, so in the pop world, vocal coach
Yeah.
and voice teacher are interchangeable as terms.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I something tells me this is going to be a recurring theme for the day, which is us needing to focus on rejuvenating ourselves, taking time for ourselves, and forcing it to happen, right? And making the space, because I know pretty much everybody here is kind of. I mean, I know everybody. We've all been experiencing some anxiety, right? Everybody around us is experiencing some anxiety. It's been such a pressure cooker of a time. It's like taking this moment, Joellen, you just got to take a little trip, and I'm sure that was really good for your spirit to get away and go for a road trip. And I think that I think that's a great encouragement right now, is to make sure that we take this space to resharpen the saw, as they say a little bit. I think that was like Covey that said that in his 7 Habits back in the day or something. Joellen, did you have a great trip? You want to say hi and tell us about it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, when you were saying that, I'm like, not me. I'm still hanging on to my vacation feelings. But it's really just a matter. We took an awesome trip around the United States. We drove from Maryland to Grand Canyon, up to Yellowstone, up in Montana, and came back through Chicago. So put 6,000 miles on the car. It's different challenges, taking kids and making sure the car doesn't break down and stuff like that. But but it's just taking myself out of the whole scheduled world into a brand new schedule. Like I said, it's like a reset. I had calls, piano lesson calls, that I couldn't remember musical terms anymore. So just stepped
A great
out of
reset.
that. I was like, I have a quarter note. I don't know what that is. So yeah, just kind of, I guess coming back, trying to just hold on to those just more like riding the wave, and I mentioned this in Fons family, just riding the wave of, you still got a checklist when you come home. You still got this checklist of stuff you got to get done, but you want to be in the moment. And I don't want being in the moment meaning I'm off, in a meadow somewhere, not leaving all my responsibilities behind and not getting in my responsibilities. So just finding that I think it's constant work to just find that place where you're getting something done and getting your things done. But what does it relate to the things that I care about? How does we all have mundane things that we have to do, but how is this helping me achieve, the exciting things that I want to do? So just blending that together. I think Melissa said something interesting. It's like it's also personality types that illustrate like change how you make that balance. I think we all have that, just make that personal balance of,
Knowing yourself.
yeah.
Yeah, knowing yourself and knowing what your skill sets are and knowing where your comfort zone is, and then knowing when it's how to push yourself out of your comfort zone. I mean, there's a lot of things to kind of to pull together there and trying to find that balance. And for me, I don't know if you all would feel the same, but for me, it's focus, right? Which if all the things that I want to do, I just can't, right? Just like everybody. And being able to really deeply focus on like what matters in the moment, which is the same thing I think you're saying as far as being present in the moment, right? Which is being able to fully give yourself to whatever that thing that's in front of you for the time that you need to do it, and know that making the choice to do that thing means you're not doing all the other things, right? And it's, I think it's a very difficult balance to strike, but you seem to do an awesome job of it.
Well,
So
I've been present and in the moment, but the house is a mess. And before vacation, everything was done and put together.
and it
My mind
just
is racing.
doesn't matter. That's a thing. It
Don't matter.
doesn't matter. Like it just doesn't matter at all. But that's great. Well, cool. Well, hey, who else is here? That would like to who's got something they want to work on today or discuss, or have an idea, something they'd like to share. Go ahead and hop in. This is awesome.
Hey, I'll chat for a second.
Oh, please do. Hi, Peter. How's it going?
Good. So I mentioned a few weeks ago that I had, quit my regular full-time normal real job. And so the past 3.5 weeks have been like a different kind of like rest and reset, but it's not really restful because I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do right now because I'm not stuck in the office. And so I've been like working my way toward like a new schedule and a new like life rhythm, and just trying to figure that out. So that's a challenge in itself. But a sort of like condensed version of that this past weekend, this past Friday was my wife and my 10th wedding anniversary.
Congrats.
So, thank you. So we were able to take the kids up to my parents' house and leave them for the weekend, and we like went to the sand dunes on Lake Michigan and like took a hike that our kids wouldn't be able to keep up with, and we went out and rode our bikes, and we went to a restaurant for the first time in a year, and like it was just this really like focused relaxation kind of, and that like at the end of it we were out for lunch on Sunday before the kids came back, and I looked at Caitlin and I was like, I'm just really happy with my life right now. Like I don't know exactly what things are going to look like in 2 weeks from now. I don't know exactly like where the business is going, but it's in good shape and it's headed in a good direction. So, we just have to kind of trust that like, what we've been working on will continue to work out. Yeah, I guess that's not a specific project I want to work on except, figuring out what's going on now. But
Well, you know
yeah.
what? I would just congratulations on that anniversary. That is awesome. I'm so stoked I mean, again, you got a weekend to get away, and I bet
Yeah.
it felt really good. You
Yeah.
come and people that I'm talking to that are going away from those weekends, they come back a couple of different ways. They come back being like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so stressed. I took off 48 hours for myself."
Right.
Now,
Yeah.
or they come back and they say, "Gosh, I really like my life." I mean, what else do you want? That's if you're in a place where you're feeling happy and gosh, and you just quit your job, which is my favorite thing to hear people say. I'm so happy for you. That's so awesome. It sounds like a great place to be in. And now you can kind of just, you'll find that new schedule. It's going to, that's tough to do when
Yeah.
you're now not on somebody else's time and it's yours, but you're super motivated and do awesome stuff. So, and you're happy. That's great.
Yeah. Well, and right now it's that tension between like, I'm really happy, but I also don't know what's next. And so like happily staring into the void, like, I don't know. it's the contrast there is kind of what I'm dealing with right now. So
Well,
That's
congratulations.
feel
yeah,
that.
thank you.
No, go ahead, Karen.
I just want to say that that sounds very relatable because that was kind of me the last 2 weeks. It was like this thing where, turbo nerd mode activated for 2 weeks and speed warping through so much mental process as I was reading more harmonic experience and then looking at my operatic pieces with new eyes and just going absolutely, that feeling of I'm suddenly seeing so much more than I saw, and it's super overwhelming, but it's also really cool. And oh, I have no clue what to do with this right now. So yeah, happily staring into the void. Gotcha.
That's totally what I just talked about on my Instagram live while ago. A while ago. So what I talked about was how when I was in the army, you have to do basic combat training.
Mm.
Part of the requirements, you have the red phase, white phase, blue phase, but you have to do certain things to make it to the next step. And the drill sergeants are telling you the things that you need to do, but you don't always have all the information. So like they would make us do these ruck marches, and a ruck march is like going from point A to point B, usually over some difficult terrain, and you just don't know how far you're going. You don't. They tell you just get ready, make sure you pack this, that, and the other. So the first one is like 2 miles, and they tell you like pack a canteen and your e-tools so you can like dig holes and go poo poo in the dirt if you need to go. So they just tell you to bring basics. And eventually that ruck march turns into 2 miles, 5 miles, 7 miles, 10 miles, and they keep adding more things for you to take. So it's like you keep like carrying all the stuff on your back. The load gets heavier and heavier. You don't exactly know if the things that you have are actually the things that you need, and nor do you know how long you're going to be going on this ruck march. And so I was relating that to like that's how we feel a lot of times when we're running our business. We carrying all this weight. We don't know where we're going. We just know we have to keep putting one foot in front of the other because you dare not quit. You dare not quit. Don't you quit.
You can't stop. Oh my gosh. That is such an interesting, it's a great story, but that's also such a great, I'm sure that was so formative for how you view, how probably you work with your clients, right? Which is, I'm going to bring the canteen for this first march. Let's get you through that. And then, okay, great. Now let's put a 50-pound pack on your back and let's do 10 miles and build them up to it. Is that how long ago was that? Or how long were you in that world for? And did that inform a lot of what you do as a teacher now?
About 10
fast.
years.
Mm-hmm.
I did that for about 10 years. So I was a reservist. So that means I'm like a part-time soldier, but I'm still doing civilian stuff when I'm not doing soldier stuff. So I was an elementary music teacher who was an Army reservist, and they would give me the bad kids. Oh, you can handle it. Them babies ain't bad. They just bored. And I was able to like transfer that same skill set into like resigning from teaching to starting business for myself, because a lot of times you don't know what the end goal is all the time. You just know you can't stop. You have to keep taking whatever that next step is, and sometimes that step is only this big, and sometimes that step is this big, but you're still going forward.
Takenya, it's so funny. Another area I follow really closely is the startup space and the technology space. And one of the hottest hiring demographics now is people that have experience being in the military of some sort, because they say the number one thing that kills a startup is not running out of money. It's running out of energy and not continuing to go forward. You just burn out, right? And so they're hiring these people that can get people to keep moving forward, to keep just trudging along and getting where they need to get. And I'm so glad you brought that up. That's a really, really interesting point that I've been seeing a lot of lately in other realms as well. Thanks for sharing that.
That just a real short thing that reminded me of. I just finished the book Atomic Habits.
Solid.
Yeah, good book. And one of the things he mentions at the end is like the difference between people that succeed and don't is not like that they have. He says they don't have a eternal reserve of motivation or of passion. Is what he said. They don't have a endless well of passion, but they know how to keep going when it gets boring. So, and it's that you keep showing up and you keep doing it and you keep taking the next step. But just thought it tied in really well with what you're talking about there.
Has everyone read Atomic Habits? It is such a, it is a great, well worthwhile book. You know, yeah, it's solid. Yep. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. Who else do we have here? Let's get someone else to jump in. Steve, Tony, Lacey, feel free. What's happening?
Hi, everyone. Am I
Whoa,
muted?
nice shark.
Thanks. I am letting my boyfriend have the main room for his stuff. And so I'm in our bedroom, which I don't mind showing, but the light is just so bright. So I tried to dim it a little for y'all with this nice
What-
little shark.
Well, you seem angelic in the backlight. What's going on with you? So it's nice to see, Lacey. What's happening in your world?
Oh man, I am so stoked. I'm really happy to have somehow found the Fons group back in the day and just been following everyone and listening to your stories, and just continually being inspired to keep upping my game and keep doing the things like you're asking me about my website. And I said, well, I should finish that. And so I finished it. And so every time I see what's going on, I'm like, well, I've got to do a little bit more. So now I'm finally getting settled in with Fons and getting out of this toxic studio that I've been a part of, where the owner doesn't realize that I'm an independent contractor who has owned a studio before and is still treating me like I'm an employee. So I'm so happy at the end of June, I will be done. I can start marketing to my students who are coming with me because they know that I care about them so hardcore, and I want nothing but the best for them. So moving into that and then talking to I'm starting the conversation with everyone about Fonz. So I think that there's some emails in the Fonz, or I had a demo with Nathan.
Oh, you're talking about just get, yeah, you know what, at least that stuff that is, we can guide you through that, but
Yeah.
and the quick encouragement is no one cares, right? When you just tell, you're like, this is stuff I'm doing, this thing, like I don't even, most of my students have no idea that I'm even affiliated with Fonz, right? And it's just like it's such a simple thing, and it's such a simple twist, but we have all that, we'll fire all that stuff to you, that you can, to help you get that onboarded. I mean, Nathaniel and Micah and the rest, our team can basically do that all for you. So that's awesome. And that's not a big deal. I'm really excited to hear that you're leaving a toxic work environment. And Steve said it too, but if leaving a toxic work environment is the best thing in the whole world, because life is just way too short to be in a spot.
Yeah, I've been in the same spot as a contractor, but then they're treating me like a salesperson, and it wasn't the worst thing ever, but it was just maddening. I'd have to, like, if I recommended something else to my students that they didn't sell there, I'm like, hey, psst, psst, here's something that's not at the store, and then I'd like sneak around. It just drove me. I wouldn't say it was, in my case, it wasn't toxic, but it was so maddening. It was just so wonderful to leave. So in your case, yeah, congrats. Getting out of there.
I mean, yeah, I'll give you, I'm echoing on my side. I don't know.
You're good now. It was Steve.
Okay.
I was looping you back. Sorry.
No worries. But just one of his suggestions to me was lower your self-dignity and just teach the kids to keep them. And I was just like, what are you, I don't understand that you don't want me to use my music education degree to teach these kids. You just want me to babysit.
Yeah, it's sure telling someone to lower their self-dignity is definitely, probably a lot of coaches here, but I'm pretty sure no one found that anywhere in a self-help book or would recommend that to anybody. But I'm glad to hear you're freeing yourself.
Tell their mama to lower their self-dignity. Tell their mama.
What'd you say?
Tell their mama to lower their self-dignity. Tell your mama.
You know, unfortunately, I don't really know a lot about his background. So maybe his mom does have a low self-dignity, and that's why he's the way he is.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
well,
don't know.
Lacey. Well, and so end of June, you're freeing yourself. You're going out on your own. It's going to be great. It's a great time to do it over the summer when people are kind of in flux and they're doing their thing, and you're going to be way better off for it. So we'll be here to be with you and help you with anything you need. And because we've all done that, we've all jumped ship and gone out on our own, and it is triumphantly awesome. So
And also, Nathaniel was telling me, because I was kind of asking him a little about SEO, and I can post it in the Fons family also, but just asking about SEO people in the group and just kind of chatting about copywriting and stuff that I'm not too familiar with.
you know what, Lacey, would be a really cool idea is this is a great idea would be maybe we could have a jump off topic or another chat where we really talk about what you're doing and what the best thing for you to focus on is, because it's like you're jumping out on your own and there's all these things that you can do and you're super experienced. You have a base of people already, which is that nucleus that know you. That's how you're going to build and get your studio growing, but you might need to do a little bit of hustling to get, to build that nucleus of people that can, again, refer you to other people. But, it's a great moment to say, these are the options of things I can do. This is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to observe it closely to see if it is producing what it needs to for me. And so you're just kind of knowing which channels you're picking, because you don't want to get in a moment like this. You can try to do everything and you can get to where it's overwhelming and nothing works, where you've already got the majority of what you need. You're a great teacher. You've got students that love you. You're going out on your own. And so like worrying about SEO might not be the most, yeah, it's awesome. But it might not be the most critical piece to your puzzle right now. And that's what this group is really helpful about, because we've all been there. That's a great spot to make a post and be like, here's where I am. Here's what I'm thinking about doing. And everybody in this group would be happy to be like, oh, I'd consider this, or this might be a good idea, or you might want to have a coach help you with that. So that would be a good encouragement, because you've already succeeded. You're going out on your own. You're leaving. See you, Peter. You got to run. It's good to see you, friend. You're in a great spot. And now it's being judicious about creating a life that you're really happy with and doing great work for your clients you have and finding a good channel to get your new ones. I mean, most people here would say that most of our students or clients come through us through referrals because we've been doing it a long time. We're on our own. And then the other channels we pick to market ourselves, we use those to augment it. So how are you're looking to teach full time?
So I am a little ADD. So yes, I do love to teach. I think full time would make me burn out.
Like full time, we're talking like 20 hours a week, 20 students a week. I mean, I generally consider like, I don't know what you all consider, but not like 40 hours or 50 hours of straight teaching.
Right.
But yeah.
20 students sounds good. Because I will be juggling a couple of other businesses also.
Yeah. Okay.
As always, everyone here knows how that goes. Everyone's a juggler. So 20 students sounds great. And I had a couple of marketing ideas, so that's great. I will make a post about marketing and the channels.
20 is just, that 20 is such a number that you can get to. Like, it's so doable. And if you do great work, and if you like really love what you're doing and you're part of a community, that's just a very attainable spot to get to. So we would love to help you figure that out.
Thanks so much. So happy to be here.
Awesome. Steve, thanks for that copywriting ebook you just put up too.
Yeah, thanks.
Hey,
it's great. Yeah, I can check in here for a second.
Please do, Tressler. How you doing, man? Hey, happy birthday to Addie. Your daughter's so charming. Your dad posts are almost getting better than your music posts. They're so fantastic. It sounds like you're having a blast
these days. Yeah, and trying to keep her busy. Today's the asynchronous day, and I got other stuff to do, and she's taking her little playing outside and like halfway supervised and taking her little coding class online. But
the year of impossible parenting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know most of you here, but I'm Steve. I'm a saxophonist and teaching artist, and I have a saxophone studio, but also have been doing lots of workshops and guest artist work, doing improvisation workshops and performing and all of that. And yeah, on my mind, this is going to be a big, this transition, sort of reflecting on the sort of transition out of COVID times. And I turned 40 this summer too, so it's this like transition time. Kind of, I've been even journaling a bit, recapping all this stuff. We're coming out of this with new skills and certain things I want to keep going. Like, I can record from home now. I mean, people have been sending me tracks. I'm doing more collaborations from my home studio, able to produce my own videos. Some of these skills that we're learning, online course, like doing remote workshops all over the place. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. I want to keep this going. And picked up all kinds of habits. I'm like, okay, way too much, whatever, ice cream and beer and staying up too late watching YouTube. And like, I can't go to the gym because it's COVID. So, I'm like, okay, that's old now. So I'm trying to make some, lifestyle tweaks and get that going. But as we transition out to, I'm not, good just going whole hog back into everything I was doing before, kind of easing into it, doing some outdoor gigs. Got a live stream gig with a band that's fully vaccinated. I've been doing some vaccinated recording sessions with folks, and starting to see people outside and just easing back. Yeah, just sort of the transition. It's kind of it's like, oh, when things go back to normal. But right now, normal is sitting in my basement teaching on Zoom. It wasn't normal 2 years ago, but now it's normal. So like going back to the abnormal, which will be.
How are you feeling about that? Like, how's being with people and playing music in real life again? Is that weird, or is it right back to, does it feel right, or is it a new thing to have to learn how to do again? Like, I know when I first saw people and I was vaccinated, I went in for my first hugs and I was like, I forgot how to hug my friends. It's been so long since you just walk up and give people hugs. I had to practice.
Yeah, someone reached out and like shook my hand at the recording session. He's like, oh, whoops, wait, is there hand sanitizer? Were we supposed to do that? Yeah, so that's awkward. The first gig, I mean, it felt, because I've been, still playing a lot, it felt kind of sticky. It just felt like there was more, I mean, it's an improvised, like there was kind of a delay. It felt kind of funny, but then going in the studio actually felt pretty normal because I've been recording from home a lot. So it's been a transition, so it's not crazy, but yeah, I'm just not going all in. But yeah, definitely, yeah, I love hearing all of you hearing about Joellen's trip and everyone's folks that have a chance to recharge. But yeah, my first sort of in-person teaching thing, yeah, I'm teaching at the Pacific Music Institute in Honolulu next month, or in July. So I'm going to Honolulu for a week. They rented the whole Hawaii Convention Center. It was normally this like orchestra summer camp, but this year I'm part of the Jazz Intensive, and they're just doing chamber music, and they rented the whole convention center and some warehouse spaces. So they have small groups of kids all just like way spaced out, and staff's all vaccinated and that, and put me up in this place. I did a couple years ago. I got to bring my whole family out, which was great. But this time, it's just going to swing for me to go. But yeah, that's going to be some recharge time. Teaching in the afternoon, but I have like, I don't know. We're like, okay, got some hikes mapped out, some boogie boarding, and okay, I got my little.
That's going to be awesome.
So, that's going to be awesome.
But I like going to, if I'm going somewhere like that, I've liked it when I have something to do. It's not not super intensive teaching schedule, but I can only lay by the pool for so long. Although that sounds pretty good, I'm not going to lie. But it's like, okay, I got a job to do. And yeah, so I mean, I haven't really gone anywhere. I've got some high-risk family members, so we've been playing it really safe, other than like a weekend camping trip, with the family, which is super fun, but that's not exactly a recharge, as some of you know. So this is just going to be super awesome. But yeah, this opportunity came from a buddy of mine from music school, Randy. He was a classical bass player, and we didn't play music together that much. We hung out he was something that we'd have like, lunch in the dorms. We'd walk around Boston. We hung out a little bit. We didn't stay super in touch. But he went into arts administration, and now he's from Hawaii, and now he's the CEO of or what do they call him? President of the nonprofit of the Hawaii Youth Symphony, and plays in the orchestra there. But he'd just been following along with some of my online stuff over the years, and kind of reached out and was interested in some of my teaching materials and all that. And I asked him to write the foreword for one of my books a while ago, and yeah. And then he's like, oh, we'd love to have you out here someday. And then suddenly he's in charge, and now I get to go out there. So it's one of those like networking things that was like, 20 years in the making, but I wasn't like, oh, I need to hustle with this person because, they can get me something. It was just like a buddy I kind of kept in touch with, and I made the work that I was doing accessible for people to check out, and it worked. And yeah, so Yeah.
Well, you know, Steve,
super awesome.
just in your check-in, there's so many cool things that we could discuss and talk about forever. You know, the fact that we learned a ton of really good skills over this ridiculously traumatic and bizarre experience we just lived through. And you're right. We changed how we work. We changed how we, you know, can parse out our time, the stuff we can do now. I mean, we just out of just necessity. You know, if you think about who we were 2 years ago, oh my gosh, like life was so fantastically different. You know, I maintain 2 physical studios, right? Which is like, I can't imagine. I'm never going to do that
doing
again.
that now. Yeah.
No, it's like, that is never going to happen again. But I really, what I took from what you just said is what's so cool is you've been doing this work, just putting it out there forever. And so, yeah, this didn't just fall in your lap. This was like someone you networked with in music school, and it's kind of just followed your career and kind of touched base. And so it feels like it's falling in your lap, but it's really, and that's like a hard thing, I think, to teach young people coming up, is that like, you just got to keep doing stuff. And like to Kenny said, putting one foot in front of the other, doing it, and then keep your eyes open for opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. And you don't really know what's going to be over the horizon for a lot of those opportunities. You know, it's like more of an oblique strategy. It's not just straight from A to B. I mean, sometimes it is like, I want to get booked at this place. Okay, who does the booking? Okay, I need to network with this person. Like sometimes you're very, you know, you have to be very direct about, you know, that kind of networking. But any of the stuff that's been really cool has been more organic projects, you know, being persistent but patient about, yeah, those kind of things. And it made me wish, oh yeah, if I'd been better about staying in touch with more people and all that.
Yeah,
kind of thing, so.
being patient and diligent and just staying positive all around. And then you don't know what's going to come your way.
Right. And if you're kind of maximizing those opportunities. But yeah, if you're always just hustling and pushing and people know you as the person who's always trying to, you know, get the next gig, or, you know, as soon as it's that kind of, you know, overdoing it, you know, that sets off my, you know, my spidey sense. You know, when you tell someone's like grinding, you know, it's good, we got to be out there. But if someone's just pushing way too hard to get something from you, you know, no one really likes being in that.
Yeah, that's why you have to be patient. That's what calms it all down. So it's not obnoxious.
Yeah. Well, like staring in the void and not knowing what's coming up. I'm like, oh, if I know exactly what's going to be happening, it's kind of boring. Maybe that might be my ADD jazz improviser part too. But I'm like, I don't want to know exactly what's going to be coming around the.
Yeah. What's that, Lacey?
Oh, I was going to say, when I did sales, which I think we all sell ourselves as well, but one of my sales managers said, be politely persistent. And always when you're letting people know about things, or like you're talking about trying to oversell, but he said, just always be polite, be persistent. You're going to get there.
Politely persistent. I like that. That's a.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say one last thing that made me think of, yeah, my kid she sold like 1,000 boxes of Girl Scout cookies, you know, teaching, you know, young women entrepreneurship, which is awesome. And I was like, here's the thing that I was like, Addie, you know why this is working? Here's what you're gonna learn about entrepreneurship. Here's why the Girl Scout cookies, you're persistently, you know, you're being persistent, but you're selling something that people actually want to buy, and they see it and go like, Girl Scout cookies. You don't have to like, tell them all the benefits and the features and the this and that and what their objections may be. Unless like, well, I'm gluten-free. I'm like, well, then here's the toffee ones that aren't very good. But, you know, and there's the scarcity built in. You know, you can only buy them these months. I'm like, so the sales is so easy because it's something, you know, if you're having to be like persistent, you know, if you're trying to push something to buy something they don't want, but it's just like, Girl Scout cookies, sign me up. You know, I was selling like popcorn and phone cards or whatever through Boy Scouts, and no one wanted those. But
they're standing on 100 years of marketing too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty solid platform. You know, as you know, we're on this arc, right, that we're all on, especially when we're self-employed. We're working for ourselves, we're entrepreneurial. Do you all ever, because this is something that I feel like I've emotionally this year kind of go through a lot, is these phases of feeling this emotion of disappointment when you're like, oh, like I wish this would have happened. And I really I was hoping this would work. You know, like my first big disappointment was I thought I was basically going to be in a band like Guns N' Roses or something by the time I was 17, touring the world. You know, I've always have pictured that's what I'd be doing because that was the first concert I went to when I was 13, you know, and like these, and that's like a different thing than I think what I'm feeling now. But sometimes, you know, this idea of like, I love to stay positive. I love to like, but sometimes I just wake up, I'm like, oh man, I'm disappointed in where this is or where that is, or And that's always a tough one to work through for me, because I don't feel it's the same as being negative. At least in my heart, I don't. I feel like it's like, oh, I'm being objective. I'm disappointed because I'm on this path and I wish I were somewhere else. And I know that I got this great advice about it when I talked to a friend about it, which was like, there's nothing you can do about it. So there's no use wasting mental energy on it. You have to, like, I love what Kenya says, you just keep moving forward. But does anybody else experience that? Like in those, yeah, Kenya's nodding her head. Yeah. Is that a thing? Okay.
You know, it's interesting. This was a bit related to some of the stuff I was working through in my 2 weeks in San Diego, because way back when in 2009, I graduated college with a math degree, and my first job out of college was actually San Diego Opera Chorus. I got into a core contract there right out the gate. It was literally the very first thing I professionally auditioned for. So that kind of set my own personal standards super high for, like, okay, hey, I'm on this pathway, got into chorus right away, and it was a good paying job, good company. I should get into the young artist programs now, and the pipeline, as they call it. And I've gone through this phase, as many singers have had to go through, as we've realized just how dysfunctional the opera industry is, how the pipeline is that they've built does not really work, and does not really let those people through who actually deeply care about what they're doing. I mean, I literally experienced people saying, almost in so many words, like, yeah, we know you're smart, just shut up and sing the thing, basically. I'm like, no, I've got all the stuff that I need to think about here and work through, and having to actually really come to the conclusion, no, I'm actually not complicating things for myself or being the perfectionist. This is just the pathway I have to go on. But because other people, sort of like what you're saying, is like, oh, imagining that you'd be in a band by that point, imagining that this was the path that was the right one. We don't, when we see those and then put those things up as expectations for ourselves in a way that, oh, if I don't achieve this, then I'm somehow failing, that becomes something, I mean, that was something that I was having to really work through and really come to an acceptance of. That was an illusion, that was a mirage, that's some people's path. That doesn't need to be my path. And the fact that my path is not following a prescribed path doesn't mean that it's somehow wrong, or that I'm somehow doing something wrong, or that I'm selfish, or that I'm conceited, or all of those, fill in the blank. So yeah, no, that resonates.
That's a great observation, Karen. Yep, I agree. It's hard. We're all in the ether, we're like doing our own thing and trying to be, we want to fit into a realm, and we're also like in our own, in our journeys, and we have to be strong in that. And it's so hard to do. I mean, it's really, sometimes I think to myself, like, wow, would it have been easier to just like get a job and just be working for the last 20 years? Like, no, that's not really in my DNA. I don't think I'd be happy doing that, but it is quite a deal. So
that's something like me and my husband were talking about the other day, because he and I are about 9 years apart, and I was like, well, how much longer? We're both out the military. He doesn't have to do anything he doesn't have to work, but he's still self-employed. He cuts grass. And I was like, well, how much longer are you going to continue to do this? Because you 51 and I'm still 40 fine. He 51. I'm 40 fine. I'll be 43 on Friday, next Friday. But how long do you want to keep working? Because I'm not about this life. I don't see me doing this at 51. Like, oh yes, come on and get your lesson. I want to be chilling on the beach. When we gonna do that?
That's what is that kind of what you're working towards? You want to be doing less of the teaching and more of the chilling out,
more of the beat.
I like that. Do you see yourself still wanting to teach at all, or just less?
Yeah, way less.
Yep. That's how I see like the last, third of my life as well, as like always being there, but doing it on my own time and teaching whoever I want to. And maybe just being like, oh yeah, maybe being to a point where like lessons don't cost anything anymore. It's just like, some little Zen master up on a hill somewhere. I'm teaching a cave. Yes. That'd be awesome.
What about your surf school?
Oh, the Eric Brander School of Surfing, Guitar Playing, and Taco Culinary Academy. Yeah. Yes, in Costa Rica.
You'll have tuition waivers for that too.
That dream is right on the forefront, and it is always right here in my mind.
Weirdly, in my back of my mind, sometimes I wonder if I'm eventually going to end up like the Mr. Miyagi of voice, where I'm like, only those students who care about the harmonic partials and care about just, I forget what movie it was. It was a silly, not Pixar, but a silly animated movie and about like these penguins surfing. I don't know. And they had this whole scene where the master surf guy was like telling this, the one who
Surf's
wanted to
up.
surf to build
Surf's
his
Up. Yeah.
surfboard. And and of course he like rushes through the process and builds this really wacky, doesn't work. I'm totally gonna be that person at some point.
Smooth strokes. Yes, my husband and I's
Yeah.
favorite movie.
What was it called again? I can't remember the name.
Surf's Up.
Of course.
Time to revisit that one. That's awesome. Hey, Tony, are you even over there, buddy? We haven't.
Oh yeah, I'm here.
What's up, man?
Yeah, I was with what Takenya was just saying too. That whole concept of being able to retire from mandatory work. This idea of like I'm still probably going to do some of this because I love it, but this idea of getting yourself to a place where you can just choose the work that you want because you've secured your job, and work is better when you don't need the money. I'm convinced.
That's when you start making more money, is when you don't need it.
It's
totally
true. Yeah, I totally believe in all that. So the
that needs to go on a T-shirt or a meme or something.
Yeah, it's already
better when you don't need the money.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's not my own. That's prior art, but it's from this blogger. He goes by the name Mr. Money Mustache, and that's what he basically. It's not about like. It's like intentionally being frugal, but it's not to deprive yourself, but it's kind of really to like just optimize your life for happiness and like really think about like, are these purchases that I'm making, are these really making me happy? Is this really working towards my future goals and things like that? And so, his whole thing is trying to get you to get to a place where you can do that, retire from mandatory work, not when you're 60, like get these like decades of like, by 30, 40 years old, where you're set up and you're already used to living this lifestyle that you're very aware and very intentional about everything that you're including in your life, and in a way where you can just kind of again maximize your happiness. But anyway, that things are going. I have like lots of like little tiny things. I've been dealing with this like printer thing. Like I got the second proof of this book, and it still wasn't right. And I just feel like this company that I worked with, it was like the communication. I was just getting to a place where I'm like, something just doesn't feel right about this. And so I took, Steve and Eric both mentioned like, can you work with a local printer? Because I'm just not going to go to like for a project like this, I'm just not going to go to like an Office Depot or a Staples. I just don't trust it with that job, So this is something I care too much about. This is not about me making a bunch of money on a book or anything like that. This is really more of like a concept project, something I really want to see exist. So I talked to my designer, and I said, hey, I know you have that like local printer. He said, yeah. He's like, I just don't know if they do the wire coil binding, and he's like, and I think it's going to be a lot more expensive. And I said, just give me their contact information. And I said, I'm just gonna hope that, like, not hope, but like really just, I'm gonna believe that they are gonna be able to do the wire coil binding, and that it's gonna be within my budget. And so far, they came back and they said it is a project that they can produce. I gave them a few more details. I'm waiting for them to give me some pricing back, but I feel really good about it. Like, it wasn't like, I'm like, oh, like this other company like didn't get it right this time. I was just like, okay, we've tried twice. I've expressed my concerns. You're not telling me why I'm having these printing issues. So I'm just I just need to try something different. So I trust that I'm going to get that all figured out. And that's good. I went through and I simplified my already super simple website. I think somebody could read every single word that I wrote on that website in probably 90 seconds. It's basically like, just call me.
Can you share that with us in the group sometime, so we can all just like bow at your
dude, it's nothing impressive. It's a Weebly site. It's totally self-made. It's 3 pages. It's parlapianostudio.com. But yeah, I could share it. And it's like, I want something better, like more professional at some point, but like for right now, it's like, it's all it needs to be. And it's not like, because most of it is right now is just like, I can't take on any more private clients anyway. So it's there. And then I also updated my Fons offerings. So now I took away my 30-minute option. So I only have a 45 and a 1 hour booking. I upped my introductory offer And now with the introductory offer, well, once I get these, I'm going to send people, like, they take the introductory offer and it includes a copy of the book. So I'll mail that to them. So I feel really good about that too. Yeah, aside from that, a couple cool things, like I had a father of one of my students like recommend this book to me, and which I didn't know very much about.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
the
he's
Daily
interesting.
Scope. Yeah. So and it was one of these things where I decided, I have so many people that recommend books to me, and I'm usually like, oh yeah, let me write that down. I'm going to check that out later. And I decided that from now on, when somebody comes to me and has feels like they want to give me a book recommendation, I'm going to do one of two things, which is either I'm going to order it right there in front of them, which I think is super cool.
Yep.
Just like, hey, I'm going to get that right now. And that makes them feel good. Or two, I'm going to say like, yeah, I don't know, maybe rethink your pitch and come back. Like, if they don't do a good job, like if it doesn't sound like something I'm interested in, but I'm not going to do this thing where I'm like, oh, let me write it down and I'll check it out later. Cause I never, ever, ever check it out later. So I don't know. I've been enjoying it
Cool.
because it's like a once a day thing. And oh yeah, what's this?
What's the Kenya got?
Yeah, the
Dude, I'll take a book
a happy
rec
pocket
today.
full of money. Yeah. So yeah, it's been fun, man. I've been just I switched my morning drives into like daily constitutionals. So I take like a 2-mile walk every morning, and and now that the weather's nicer, and I kind of read that, I think about it, and then I try to think. Sometimes you notice I've been posting a little bit more in Piano Teacher Central, just trying to like put a little, as you said, elbow grease into that, and just making it a little bit more of like a positive space where it's not so much complaining. And on my walks, if I can think of something worth contributing to the internet for that day, great. And if I can't, I'm not going to just do it just to do it. So that's these are all just the little things that are going on in my life. One bigger thing that I'm excited about is my teacher, and I'll go in one second because I know we're at 2. But my teacher mentor that I go to see at college, he's been with me like this whole like Popmatics thing. Like, I show him like all of my stuff, and he's really challenged me throughout all of this to like help me understand what it is that I'm doing, or I guess he helps me to like really define in my mind like what I'm doing, what I'm going, what the purpose is, the intent, everything that I'm going after. And he really wants me. He gave me the number of the head of the department at the college that I went to school with, and he's like, go talk to Dr. Bonacci, who is not somebody I had a close relationship with while I was there. He's like, go talk to Dr. Bonacci. He's like, tell him about what you're doing. He's like, tell him I told you to send. And I saw him today. He's like, did you write to Dr. Bonacci yet? And I said, I haven't. I said, but it's not because like I don't want to. It's like I just haven't yet. And he says, I sense some reluctance. And I said, well, I do have a little reluctance because I'm kind of like, why am I telling him? Like, I don't know, like what, I just kind of have that feeling like, well, he's going to be like, well, like why would he care, kind of thing. And he's like, my teacher just said, he's like, look, put it on me. Just tell him that I insisted that you get in touch with him, and just see if there's a time that I can set up and meet with him.
So talk to him about Popmatics, your method.
Yeah, he thinks that there might be an opportunity like there to do some type of a course there that might bring in more people into the music department, even if it's like from a non-major standpoint, just to build the program. And he said, Dr. Bonacci is very open to new ideas, new concepts. He wants to learn these things. So I guess I'm gonna send him an email, and just
Hey, so Tony,
Yeah.
I'll ask you just a straight up question. Are you nervous taking your ideas to him because you're not a doctor, like in classical music or something like that? Or because you think you might not like them? Or
no, I didn't know. I was like, when he first told me, he's like, message Dr. Bonacci, I was like, from my point, I was like, well, I don't want to just tell him what I'm doing. Like, I don't want to come across like I'm just like being like, oh, look at this thing I made. Like,
I see.
Yeah, you want to know why it might be relevant.
Yeah, why might it be relevant? And that's why I asked him today. I said, why am I telling him? Like, do you think that this could be a thing at the school? And so that's kind of what he said. And once he said that, he says, put it all on me. Tell him like I insisted that you message him. And he's already kind of like told him about it. So I mean, that would be cool if something like that happened. And I have to say that like things are falling into place. Like, after just having this completed, even though I haven't gotten my like hard copies, I have all the digital files and everything. I got the Fons thing's working for me, man. The Fons, the marketplace thing. I have one teacher that just signed up for an appointment that's going to be this Friday. I had another teacher message me, like just saw stuff, and she was like, "Hey, can I buy your stuff?" I said, "It's not really in a place where you can self-teach." She's like, "Well, I have a 15-year-old son. I think it would be good for him." So she was asking that studio that I work with, that had me do like the master classes over the over the last couple months. She just messaged me and she said, "Hey, I just hired a new teacher. Can I put her in for 6 weeks of like training with you?" And I was just like,
that's
yeah,
so
like,
cool, man.
that's what I mean. And it's like, I'm not like going out and I'm not doing any marketing. I'm just showing up like in Piano Teacher Central. I'm showing up and I'm sharing stories and I'm not doing anything. And people are reading them and then they have questions or they're inspired or they want to do something. And that's really what I want. Is I just have this vision of things unfolding in that way.
Unfurling organically is what
Yes.
you're. It's like a fern. Yeah.
Good,
absolutely.
Lacey.
You don't have to do these, funnels and Facebook campaigns
I don't
and all
want
that.
any-
You're just like building trust. And that's just, I mean, when you get, once people trust you.
Yeah, that's what I want.
So Tony, if I could really, thank you. So the work you're doing in Piano Teacher Central is so good. Like I was like,
Thank you.
please post more because it is definitely changing the vibe of the whole thing. Every
Yep.
time it's like, please.
It could be a little tiny thing or it could be more thought out. I'm like, it doesn't have to be. It
it's
just something that's within the spirit of like the way that I want the group to be.
Yep.
What I want to see more from.
Yep. And so that's really cool. The second is it's great to see how your thing's blowing up. But I wanted to, when I was doing my book, I had a very particular way that I wanted it to be fashioned. And there was the way that I kind of got to where I wanted to with it is I did find a local print company,
Mhm.
but the technique that really worked for me is I made the realization that people that are really into that are nerds about that. Like I'm a nerd about like guitars, right?
Yeah.
And so I opened up the conversation knowing exactly what I wanted, but I was like, they might talk you through like a strategy to do something like, and I ended up getting like a spiral book but it was covered. So the spirals didn't ever undo it. It was just a little bit more, but it became a nerding connection thing where I was like, tell me about like what you think the best thing to do is here. And that lights them up to where they're like, oh dude. Yeah. And you may find something interesting, or they might go an extra mile to make it happen for you if you can make them feel like their expertise would be a contribution.
I found that's what I did. Yeah. I said I want to establish a relationship with a local business. I told him my vision for it, my vision for how I want it to be used. I told him, kind of showed him what I'm thinking and the reason, but I did say that I'm very open to because it is confusing. And I think that's the problem that I was having with the other company was there's so many options with paper and like the way they measure weight. It's like, and then they're going to mail me a proof that I have to pay for each time. And if I'm like, well, what if I wanted to see it with the 14-point cover or like this different kind of like gloss laminate? It's like, yeah, like they send me this thing, paper sample thing, but it's like, I really can't get a feel for like what the thing's actually going to be. So I like that this company's a little more local. I'll be able to save, the shipping on these books, the math with it, I discovered like if I order 100 books twice, it's going to be cheaper if I just order 350 right now. Yeah. Trying to figure out all those little details.
Yeah, it's like getting CDs pressed or something. It's like,
let
me start with 50, and I'm like, oh, well, it's only another $25 for 300 or whatever. It's like,
yeah.
Tony, I got to go, but I have to say one more thing, if I can. What I would, if I can remember how I wanted to articulate this. I do know. So the thing you're doing, you're like this professor you can talk to. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of pedagogy programs, but a place that I think your method might even be bigger is in the music therapy programs. Right? Because I had a music therapy student this semester who was learning guitar, and they're just learning it to learn the basics to be able to work with their clients. Yes. And so Popmatics could be, these are the areas for you to start speaking, to working with groups of people. There's a lot of openings that your method could be really, really functional, especially in that. So anyway, you got a lot of stuff you can do. I got to run just a second. Did somebody want to finish up with a final thought? Was that you, Steve? Were you talking, or Lacey?
Happy to be here, trying to get everything formulated in my head. So I'm happy to have y'all.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
So you're switching everything over to Fons. So I'm gonna say, when I did the same thing, I was gonna say, if you having some one-on-one conversations with all your people works better. For me, that worked best. Like, let's do a quick call, because you can send them all the stuff in the script, and most people will ignore it. So sometimes, like, hey, it's easy to bring on new people is no problem, but transferring everyone over, making sure everyone understands, because things are different. But
Awesome.
they'll send you all the scripts. That's all
Yeah.
helpful.
You're right.
I'm super-
Different is different. It's hard. Yep.
I'm super communicative with all of my parents, so one-on-ones is a great recommendation.
Yeah, it's,
and
good. It's
all.
like, hey, here's what we're doing.
Yeah, it's
that's
no
the thing.
big.
Not
Like Eric said,
not like,
it's no
do you
big
want to,
deal.
same thing with like, oh, do you want to try Zoom lessons because of the pandemic? I'm like, here's what we're doing next week. Here's
Yeah.
the link for lessons.
They don't want choices.
Right.
And they don't want to open your invoices. Like, that's the thing. It's like, I'm, as a parent, like, we don't care. We just want our kids to do their things, or we want to do our
I
thing.
wish my kid's piano teacher had fun, just said it. I want to set it and forget it. Is it parent? I don't want the mental. Yeah, wait. How many lessons were there last month? I don't like doing it from this end.
See, I did it per month, and so now I'm going to have to go and do the math of like Monday for 2022 or whatever, school year is like X amount, or packages.
Yeah, you
Like,
can
how do you
make it
decide
really
which one?
simple. You don't have to. Anyway, Eric will set you up. You don't have to do all that math.
Yeah, we will
Not
set
that
you
it's
up.
that much.
Yeah, make one move and make it as simple as possible for you and your clients, and then you're stoked. Like, just
Yeah, and
That's
it
the
might be
one.
different. What I offer now is a little different than when I was sending invoices, but it's like so much easier. Yeah, you don't have to calculate that unless
Sweet.
it makes you feel good to look at the calendar and do that. But
we got you, Lacey. Well, hey,
Thanks,
friends,
Eric.
it was great to be together. I hope you have a great day.
Thanks.
We'll connect again soon. Thanks for being here, friends. We'll see you soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.